Been gone for a minute, but I am back. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the Minnesota situation and 9 other top stories that happened since the last episode on December 10th. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the 9 other stories. First off, Operation Absolute Resolve, the capture of Nicolas Maduro. In a stunning overnight mission on January 3rd of 2026, U.S. Special Operations Forces executed Operation Absolute Resolve in Caracas. President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were extracted from Venezuela. Maduro now faces federal drug trafficking and narco-terrorism charges in a Manhattan courtroom. 2 points on this. Decisive leadership. For years, we were told Maduro was entrenched. Yet in one night, President Trump showed that the era of strategic patience is over. This wasn't an quote-unquote endless war, as it was told to us before. It was a surgical strike that removes a narco-terrorist from our doorstep with a single American casualty. The other point, law and order abroad. By bringing Maduro to Manhattan courtroom, we're sending a message. If you poison American streets with fentanyl and cocaine, there is nowhere on earth you can hide. This is a good thing, people. Second story, DOJ opens criminal probe into federal chair Jerome Powell. Now, the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell revealed on January 11th, my birthday, by the way, that the Department of Justice has served the Fed with subpoenas. The investigation focuses on his testimony regarding building renovations at the Fed's headquarters, but Powell has publicly alleged that the probe is a quote-unquote pretext to coerce him into lowering interest rates. The Federal Reserve has operated as an unaccountable shadow government for far too long. If there's evidence of financial mismanagement or misleading of Congress, Powell needs to face the same scrutiny as any other bureaucrat. Critics call this quote-unquote political pressure for a transparency mandate, but I call it accountability. The Fed's independence shouldn't be a shield for incompetence or waste. The DOJ is basically ensuring that the quote-unquote masters of the universe are not above the law. And this is a good thing. Okay, how about you guys heard about the Los Angeles zombie fires? Okay, so here's the story. In early January of this year, the Lockman fire, previously thought to be contained, was reignited by 100-mile-per-hour winds. This zombie fire became the most destructive in LA history, destroying over 7,000 structures, including iconic parts of the Pacific Palisades, and resulting in at least 12 confirmed deaths. This is terrible. While the federal government is pumping billions into FEMA, we have to ask why California is still so vulnerable. It's time to stop blaming climate change and start looking at decades of poor forest management and radical environmental policies that created this tinderbox. Maybe they should prioritize the citizens. We need to ensure that disaster relief goes to the families and small business owners of the Sunset Boulevard, not into the pockets of quote-unquote resiliency consultants for state-level slush funds. Do better for your people, California. Okay, how about massive 7.1 magnitude earthquake in Tibet? So, on January 7th, a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck remote Tibet near the Nepal border. At least 126 people were killed and nearly 1,000 homes and temples were destroyed. Tremors were felt as far away as Kathmandu and parts of India. Now, America's strategic reach, even as we focus on home, we monitor these global disasters. It's a reminder of the fragility of the CCP's infrastructure in occupied regions like Tibet. We should offer humanitarian aid, but only in a way that ensures it reaches the people, not the Communist Party's coffers. And in an effort to put resilience and regulation at the forefront, compare the speed of response here to the red tape in LA. It shows that whether it's a natural disaster or a man-made one, centralized bureaucratic control always hinders the boots to the ground. So in this situation, we're able to do more faster because there's less red tape and help the people. And in both of these situations, that's what is trying to be done, is to try to get to the people. How about the congressional defiance on Epstein files and vetoes? In early January, nearly every House Republican joined Democrats to override presidential vetoes on water and tribal land bills. More significantly, a bipartisan group of lawmakers successfully pushed a mandate to release all federal files related to Jeffrey Epstein, despite the initial White House resistance. Now, the president's initial veto of these water projects wasn't anti-infrastructure, it was anti-debt. We cannot keep rubber stamping billion-dollar projects while our national debt is spiraling. But the push for the Epstein files shows that the American people want total transparency, no matter who it hurts in D.C., the surrounding establishment, or anybody involved. This is about cleaning out the swamp once and for all. I'm all for it. This is a newer one. The new 25% tariffs on Iran trading partners. These tariffs are working, people. If you're listening to this show, then you are probably pro, but obviously, if you're on social media, you see people that are against, and in my opinion, those are just people that don't understand or are just anti because they don't like the president or, administration. So get over it, because you're living in an economy that's good because of this, so deal with it. On January 12, 26, President Trump announced a 25% tariff on any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran. The move was designed to squeeze the Iranian regime as it faces its largest domestic anti-government protests in decades. India, a major trade partner with Iran, is expected to be hit the hardest. If you trade with the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, you don't get easy access to the American market. I'm sorry. These 25% tariffs are the teeth needed to finally bankrupt the regime in Tehran. So don't be a terrorist, don't do business with terrorists, and don't have a 25% tariff. The forces are our allies to make a choice. Do you want the Iranian rial or the American dollar? We're finally using our economic leverage for national security. When you're top dog, you play top dog games. This is just like anybody that's ever played a sport before. If you've got the better team, you're playing a smaller team, a down team, what's the coach saying? Don't play down to the competition, because if you play down to the competition, you could accidentally lose. When you're top dog, be top dog. How about Syria's stalled transition post-Assad? 1 year after the fall of Bashar al-Assad in December of 24, Syria remains in a fragile transition under Ahmed al-Shara, formerly of HTS. Violence continues in the northeast between Turkish-backed factions and Kurdish forces, and the new government has signaled it will rely on foreign investment over international aid for reconstruction. Now, the fall of Assad was a win, but we have to stay out in front of the tribal infighting. We've seen this movie before. Let the regional players settle their own borders while we focus on our own. Our only goal in Syria should be the total suppression of ISIS and ensuring that no chemical weapons fall into the hands of the new factions. Beyond that, it's not our fight. We got enough to deal with. How about 2024 confirmed as the hottest year on record? Oh no, climate change. Just kidding. On January 10th, 2026, the Copernicus Climate Change Service officially confirmed that 2024 was the warmest year in recorded history. My question is, why did it take until 26 to confirm that 24 was the warmest year on history? I feel like that's a numbers thing. It was the first calendar year to exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold above pre-industrial levels, with 11 out of 12 months setting new records. The 1.5 degree Celsius threshold shouldn't be an excuse for more quote-unquote Green New Deal spending that hammers the middle class. The solution is American energy dominance including nuclear and natural gas, which is cleaner than anything coming out of China. We need to focus on American ingenuity and infrastructure and resilience rather than signing on to international treaties that only serve to handicap our economy while growing someone else's. The last of the 9. Google hits $4 trillion market cap. On January 12th, Alphabet joined NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft in the $4 trillion club. The surge was driven by the success of the Gemini 3.0 AI models, which I love, by the way, and a massive deal to power an AI-enhanced version of Apple Siri. Now, Alphabet hitting $4 trillion isn't just a stock market story, it's a national security story. Agentic AI is the new arms race, and we need our tech giants to beat the CCP. While we celebrate the American success, we have to ensure these agentic AI tools aren't used to censor conservative speech or expand surveillance. Innovation must serve the people. It does not need to control them. So those are the 9 big happenings since December 10th. And now let's talk about Minnesota's complete and total lack of leadership and collapse altogether.
I want to take a minute to tell you a little bit about Cowboy Revolution apparel. Now, obviously, you've seen my cowboy hat on the cover of this podcast. And let's be real, when you hear cowboy, your mind jumps to the hat. The silhouette, the statement, but you're not always out roping cattle, right? You're navigating the concrete jungle, or maybe just a chill Sunday morning, headed to church. That's the gap Cowboy Revolution apparel fills. They're taking that iconic Western spirit and putting it into the clothes you actually live in. Starting with the gear that keeps your head warm and looks sharp, hats and hoodies. Their hoodies aren't just soft, they're substance. They're heavyweight fleece designed with a rugged durability that's rare these days. Think reinforced stitching, metal-tipped drawstrings that fits you and lets you move. They're built to be your best friend when the temperature drops, whether you're fixing a fence or just hitting the coffee shop. These are the hoodies that get better, not bagged out with every wash. And the hats, we're talking about more than just your standard cap. They've got structured trucker hats with classic Western patches that pay respect to the ranching life. They've got wool caps for that vintage frontier look, and for those who want the full silhouette without the fuss, they offer premium, crushable felt hats that are easy to pack, but demand respect when you wear them. Every stitch, every buckle, every curve is deliberate. You don't have to wear a full Western rig to carry the grit of the West. Just throw on a Cowboy Revolution hoodie or a CR hat, and you're good to go. It's about quiet confidence and uncompromising quality from a veteran-owned company.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the chaos in Minnesota. Now, we've all seen the headlines, but as Christians, which most of you that are listening to this are, if you are not a Christian yet, I ask you to listen to the last episode, then tune back in. We're all called to be seekers of truth, not just consumers of content. In fact, Proverbs 18:17 warns us that the first to plead his case seems right until the cross-examination begins. Today, we're performing that cross-examination by pitting the media's narrative versus the hard facts. Now, if you are not familiar, if you've been living literally under a rock, let me just give you a brief synopsis. On Wednesday, January 7th, 2026, a fatal shooting occurred in South Minneapolis involving a ICE agent and a 37-year-old woman. The incident has sparked widespread national protests and a significant dispute between local Minnesota officials and federal authorities. And let's take a look at why. Guys, we've been through this before. First off, let's take a look at the first narrative. The narrative is unarmed mother murdered, right? That's the media narrative. The facts are resisting arrest and legal consequences. Now, let's take a look at both of these compared side by side. First off, let me be clear. Every life ending is a tragedy because Every person is made in the image of God. This woman was a daughter and a mother. We mourn that loss, but we cannot ignore the biblical principle of sowing and reaping. Galatians 6:7. I mean, it's right there. It reminds us that actions have consequences. When you impede an officer, especially in a climate where officers have recently been dragged and injured, you are creating a dangerous escalation. She wasn't a martyr. She was someone making a high-stakes, bad decision. We have to ask ourselves, why is our culture, or say the culture of media, so quick to canonize someone who was actively breaking the law? And it's because the world wants to remove the concept of personal responsibility. In the Christian worldview, we recognize that we are all responsible for our choices. If we remove the consequence from bad decisions, we aren't being compassionate. We are being dishonest. We see this in the contrast between the left and the right. When a conservative leader faces a trial or an attack, we don't see Christians burning down their own cities in a fit of rage. We trust in a God of justice and a system of law, not the quote-unquote justice found at the end of a brick thrown through a window. Keep that in mind. Okay, next, we have to look at how this is being sold to you, okay? And this is exactly what it is. This is a sales job. First off, the narrative is this was just another quote-unquote routine stop used as an excuse for state violence when the facts say the media is running a practice playbook designed to drive views and add revenue. The media runs this same play every time, like a basketball team that only knows one fast break. They strip the context to trigger your anger. We saw this with the hands up, don't shoot lie in Ferguson. Again with George Floyd. They report on this like a tornado in the Midwest. They want you terrified so you don't turn the channel. Why? Because viewers drive ad spots drive revenue. If you live in a part of the country that has tornadoes, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me your news channel isn't talking about tornadoes, and Walmart and the other grocery stores love it. See a tornado, see an ice storm coming, what is everybody doing? First off, we're not turning the channel. And second off, we're clearing the aisles, we're clearing the shelves at the stores, okay? This is all about selling you product. We have to realize that these news corporations are not truth-seeking entities. They are attention-seeking entities. They thrive on division because harmony doesn't sell. 2 Timothy 4:3 tells us that people will seek out teachers who tell them exactly what their itching ears want to hear. When you see a news report that ignores the felony warrant or the officer's safety, you aren't watching journalism. You're watching a sales pitch. They're selling you a version of reality that keeps you in a state of perpetual outrage. As believers, we must refuse to be the product they sell to their advertisers. And how about the fact that there is also a political angle that the narrative ignores? Okay, the narrative says racist ICE officers are hunting people down in our streets when the facts say ICE is enforcing the law as they've done under every administration, while local politicians are using the unrest to deflect from their own financial fraud scandals. While the city is distracted by activists, Minnesota lawmakers are quietly avoiding the spotlight on massive financial fraud cases happening right now. It is a classic deflection. ICE was working during the Obama and Biden years. They're doing their jobs today. What the Minnesota lawmakers are trying to do is deflect from the fact that they have a $19 billion financial fraud scheme going on and point it back. And what's the easiest thing to do right now to all the people that just don't like Trump and Trump's administration is, oh, orange man, orange hair, right? He's over there dancing. He's the bad guy, not us. Nah, folks. If you live in Minnesota, you should be madder about the $19 billion fraud than anything else, because that came straight from you. You paid for that. You financed that. This deflection is a direct violation of the integrity required of leaders. Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. We are seeing the groaning of a state where leadership chooses to scapegoat federal officers rather than address the corruption in their own ranks. By pointing their finger at ICE, they keep the mob busy so no one asks where the tax dollars went or why the fraud cases have gone cold. It's a shell game, and the rioters are unfortunately the ones moving the cups for the politicians. Finally, let's take a look at the quote-unquote protests for what they actually are. The narrative tells us these are peaceful protests fueled by a desire for justice. The facts of this is a violent rioting and a spirit of lawlessness rebelling against the family, the church, and the state. As Christians, the Bible tells us to submit to the three spheres of authority: family, church, and state. Today's progressives want to be their own gods, guys. They view authority with the entitlement of a child who refuses to be told no. Romans 13 is clear. Authority is instituted by God to restrain evil. This spirit of rebellion is exactly what the Bible describes as the heart of sin. It is the desire to say, I will not serve. When we see people burning businesses and assaulting officers, we aren't seeing a quest for civil rights. We're seeing a rejection of the three heads of the authority of God that he established to keep society from devouring itself. These activists want the benefits of a civilized state without the submission required to maintain it. And as a Christian, we stand in the gap. We're the ones in the middle. We show that true freedom isn't found in doing whatever we want, but in doing what is right under the authority of Christ. So my plea to you guys is stay vigilant, stay grounded in the Word, always check the narrative against the facts. Don't be sucked in. You will see multiple angles of multiple videos that try to convince you this, that, or the other. The facts are the facts. They cannot be changed. This is the same play that has been run on us for years. Don't be fooled. Don't be swayed by what major media sources tell you. Do your own research. Look into things. Pray about it. Understand that this is bigger than what is being played out to you. That anything that you see, you have to understand something bigger is happening in the background that you just don't know is happening yet. All right, everybody, good to be back. I won't let that much time pass between the next episode. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, share. That's how we get the word out. That's how we keep the lights on. You know, it's tough being a super successful podcast host, but, you know, you guys make it all worth it. I appreciate you. Talk to you next time.